It's time now to review headlines from today's newspapers with the Ombudsman of This Day, Anna Rice Media Group, and This Day Newspaper Limited's Group Executive Director, Kayode Komolafe. KK, we're going to get to a point where I'll know your title without even...
without having to read.
Exactly. We'll be here. Good morning to you. Good morning.
Good morning, KK.
Good morning, Steve.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Oji.
Good morning.
Good to be here.
All right, so we go right into it with This Day, the newspaper of records, This Day on Sunday, where we have the lead story. In a dramatic shift, Kingibe says Nigeria's unity negotiable. With the rider, Tambua, we need a detribalized leader. On top of that, crisis hits APC congresses in Lagos, Abia, Akwa Ibom, Niger, Enugu, Kwara, others. Scores injured as gunmen attack Congress venues in Ogun, Osun, Sanwo-Olu, Ambode, Akpabio, Udo-Edehe. Loyalists also hold parallel congresses. Kayamo, Ogboru, Okorocha, Ararume boycott exercise in Delta and Imo. That's the major issue for yesterday with the APC party. On top of the masthead, pressure mounts on secondos to withdraw court case over PDP chairmanship, which we'll find on page 6 of This Day. And on the window, terror attacks, UK warns citizens against traveling to 12 Nigerian states. That's a security issue there. Last but not the least is a story that is also on page 5 of This Day. 500,000 people at risk of starvation in Northeast, says the United Nations. Those are the stories. And I think on the cover of This Day's Style today is focus on Zainab Bagudu.
Yes, who is the First Lady of Kebbi State.
Kebbi State.
And she's talking about fighting cancer.
Yes, I thought I saw her on Newsnight last night. I did. I'm
Very
sure.
well.
Yes.
You may well have, because she definitely does a lot of media circuits talking about this same topic. And it is a beautiful spread and a very insightful interview there. So, as ever, with every Sunday's edition of This Day, please do pick up and read This Day Style. It's more than just pictures.
Absolutely.
Really beautifully written interviews and articles in there, so please do.
And it's amazing that she's talking about breast cancer and this breast cancer awareness month.
Yeah.
You know, it's really
All right,
right timing.
So those are the stories for your discussion in today's This Day.
Perhaps the story you said, the last but not the least, I think it's actually the most important story, and that is
the 500 people at risk of starvation.
The threat of starvation. 500
in the Northeast.
People in
it's
Nigeria.
terrible.
But the real
That's a
story
human
is
disaster
that
waiting to happen there.
by July, according to the World Food Program, by July next year, about 4.4 million people, actually stand the risk, of starvation, unless that program gets the lifeline that it needs. And it is estimated that it will need about $187 million. This is more than worrisome. I think that is where that situation, the humanitarian, the looming humanitarian disaster, in the Northeast, we have it, despite the efforts of bodies like World Food Program and even other NGOs. Because, for example, I know that the Dangote Foundation, spends millions daily, for feeding the other foreign NGOs. Also contribute. But despite all this effort, we still discover that a lot of people, still face hunger. They still face starvation. That should really compel the attention of the authorities. That's a situation where you will have people just dying. I mean, that is, they have escaped from Boko Haram attacks. Now in IDP camp, they will not die of hunger. I think it's a real humanitarian crisis. If you like, I would say it is that of emergency that should draw the attention of the authorities. So the request of World Food Program is the one that should be looked into, not just only by Nigerian government, but also by the foreign partners who have been supporting the humanitarian efforts in the particular region for quite a while. Now, the lead story of This Day on Sunday, incidentally, is also the lead story of The Sun. The story actually came from the awards. The Sun Awards, last night, to to various categories. One of the winners of the award for the category of Lifetime Achievement Award is the former Secretary to Federal Government, Ambassador Kingibe.
Babagana
Kingibe.
That was a stunning speech he delivered.
Yeah, very, very, very important statement.
Yeah.
And like the caption of this day on Sunday, is represent a dramatic shift.
Absolutely.
In the tone, of everything. And that is to say that the unity of Nigeria is actually negotiable, and that the mantra that the industry of Nigeria is not negotiable, that is, is just something that is out of place. I think Ambassador Kingibe, cannot be more, correct, in the circumstance in which the nation finds itself, and that is simply because one, Nigeria is experimenting with federalism, both in theory and in practice. An underlying principle of federalism is that it is a continuous negotiation.
Absolutely.
But it's often said that what is federalism after all, if it is not continuous negotiation? Because the truth is that, contrary to what another mantra in Nigeria, we said that you are looking for true federalism. There is no true federalism anywhere, and there is no false federalism. Every nation builds itself, along federalist line, based on its own, historical experience, and also the challenges. And in a situation where you have a multi-ethnic, multi-religious, such a diverse society, definitely the imperative, of negotiation, of understanding, of forging, understanding as a very, as a veritable instrument for nation building, cannot be rolled out. So I think maybe unwittingly, Ambassador Kingibe might have opened a debate which, should actually be, taken up by others to actually examine, and also to stress this point that more than any other factor, not language, not territory, not common ancestry, common culture, one thing that actually defines, that is indispensable as a factor for defining a nation is that sense of belonging, that national consciousness, which of course you can only bring about, through persuasion, through negotiation, because you cannot decree unity into existence. So if you cannot decree into existence, you cannot force people, to unite. Then it means, you have to, forge understanding, and one way of forging understanding is by, negotiating, And I think, such voices of reason, should be listened to in our national circumstance. The other story, which of course is on the front page of every newspaper, published today in this land, is the largely acrimonious Congress of the ruling party, APC. It's really not funny, because it's sad commentary. The first time a political party was formed in Nigeria was way back in 1923. So we're almost talking of a century, experience with, and in this particular dispensation, we are talking of, actually experimenting with multi-party politics in this way only for more than 20 years now. So it's marks of immaturity, the kind of thing that we had on display yesterday. That people go into congresses, with guns, and cudgels. Elsewhere, yes, of course, it is not strange if you have sharp disagreements within the party, because after all, in liberal democracy, the ethos of it is competition. But what competes is not guns, it's not cutlasses, it's ideas. That is, people want to move the party in certain direction based on idea, based on moving ideology. So elsewhere, if you are having acrimony in a party congress, maybe some people want to move the party to the left, other people say no, we want it to remain at the center, or maybe some other people think no, it should move to the far right, based on policies. All the quarrels that have been reported here, nobody has said that, okay, it is because some people prefer that, say maybe the APC should be a high tax party, and other people think that no, it should be a low tax party. Or maybe some people think, oh no, the APC should be more welfareist, and other things that no, its policy should be driven more by market forces. Those are the kind of things that form the basis of quarrels, quote and unquote, in other parties. But here you discover that no ideas. All these disagreements, who should become what, No, there is nothing. I mean, nobody is associated with any idea that this is the basis of the passion. Just to get control of the party, so that you'll be able to determine who will be the candidate, for election. We should have a government, and then we have power, which to me is very hollow, because at the end of the day, you have to look at the content of politics. Politics in itself is not an end in itself; it's a means, and then you want to get power. Power to do what? And in our circumstance, I think the purpose of politics should be politics of development. It should be anti-poverty politics, to uplift, millions of our people, tens of millions of our people, out of poverty, and therefore, if you are having a party, you are organizing a party, it should be deliberately organized for that purpose. And you do that by ideas, competing, by various views. So if you're having quarrels in the party, the quarrels should be based on the divergence, on the basis of this idea. But you find it, lacking. Yeah. But incidentally, PDP too had congresses in some states. The same thing also applies to PDP. If you search through the quarrel, you will not find any disagreement based on any principle. No. It's just that a particular party's chief or a governor or an aspiring governor wants this candidate to be the chairman, the other thinks that he should not be chairman. Why should that? What is the view of? What is the idea? What is the ideology of the person who wants to be the chairman and the other person who is opposing him? You cannot find it. So like I said, so this for me are all symptoms, of a very deep malaise, in the polity, and that is what I call political underdevelopment, immaturity. So it's really a sad commentary, what we have.
It is, if we look at it, because it really is on all the papers. If we take a look at the Daily Trust, Mr. Komolafe, it is the lead story there. Divisions as APC holds rancorous state congresses, correct? Parallel congresses in Kano, Ogun, even in Lagos, we had all those factions as well. Then another writer there reads, 2 shot in Osun as violence erupts, exercise suspended in Oyo and Taraba, hitch-free in Nasarawa, Gombe, Cross River, and others. Another story there, PDP congresses, violence mass, exercise in Oyo, Lagos, peaceful in Adamawa and Kwara, though. Before I go to the story that I'd love for you to analyze, as you know, above the masthead there, Daily Trust is always reporting the amount of days school children are held in captivity. Federal Government College, Benin Yari, 123 days. Mr. Komolafe is reporting, Daily Trust is reporting that. And then Bethel Baptist High School, Kajuma, 106 days. Really horrific. The government really, we need our children out. Really sad for the parents and the family members. Now, the story I'd love for you to discuss is the one below this picture story here. 10 billion naira pension fraud. That is on the former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Kwankwaso. He spends one night in EFCC custody. Over to you.
Yes, on Kwankwaso's story, I think we should be wary of what is called media trial.
Yeah.
So an invitation from EFCC, does not constitute a verdict.
A guilty verdict.
Yes, EFCC is legitimate law enforcement agency. It has the right to invite anybody, including me and and if he asks any questions to ask, answer him. And it's a good thing that Senator Kwankwaso has honored the invitation and has explained. So I'm just saying that we should be worried, of engaging in media trial until EFCC concludes its investigation, and if it has any case
against
my
question was, what is
against Kwankwaso, then it will have to charge. But I'm also interested in the security issue. Now, like you said, in the strip, under the masthead of Daily Trust, you have the grim statistics that the paper
that I just read out,
and that you're having children that have been in captivity for 123 days. That in itself, if you want to barometer of insecurity, of how life is insecure in Nigeria, that is it for you. And therefore, you should not be surprised at the other story on the front, the window of this day, that the United Kingdom, is advising citizens that, naming some states, the federation, that they should be very careful,
10 states,
Yes.
10 states, that they should, unless it is absolutely necessary, they should avoid, traveling to those states. So if you are a foreign country is giving a travel advice, against 10 states in Nigeria, then that in itself is another barometer, of insecurity. And you will expect that these are the issues that will engage the attention of politicians, If you permit me to come back to the party congresses, Now, in all these party meetings, that is not featured there. It's not as if that, let's say maybe the one party candidate feels that, the APC should be organized in such a way that you have a government in place that maybe will prefer kinetic approach, fighting terrorism.
Yeah.
And the other one is, no, it should not be kinetic approach, it should be, negotiation, it should be paying ransom or whatever. And you have very strong disagreement. So I'm saying that in a country that is bedeviled with this high level of insecurity, that you have political meetings, politicians gather, and it does not come up in their discussion. That to me is a scandal. This is not a politics of progress. That they are playing that. If politicians meet, if you have 2 or 3 politicians meeting today, I think if the responsible, they should be discussing these problems that face the people. Then otherwise you are playing a politics, of cynicism that they're not just bothered about the condition, of the country. Yeah.
Right. Definitely. Something else that the government do need to address, so says The Guardian on Sunday, is that Nigeria is to lose 38 trillion naira to climate change activities by 2050. Also, the government is going to increase primary healthcare centres to improve the state of healthcare, says the health minister. And finally, the federal government needs 215 billion naira yearly to fix federal roads. Goodness gracious. I'll hand that over to you then.
Yeah, I think just about a minute or so to go.
These 3 stories, the infrastructure revamp with a huge bill of over 200 billion. The story on climate change, the fair that what are going to spend, and the health, they are all issues of development. That was say that the more, and so in a country where you have all those challenges, you will expect that the politics should be politics of development.
That's right.
That should be discussed. But you discover that the politics is not oriented towards that. That is the sad commentary about it all.
Just very quickly, lastly, in today's Punch, a story that caught my attention there, FIRS to spend 2.8 billion naira on uniforms and then 550 million on meals. Board members to earn 370 million sitting allowance. FIRS, that's one of the main revenue-generating agencies of federal government, and then
they want to squander on.
Oh well,
is that what you're getting? No, but then how do they even come up with the amount in terms of the uniforms? What was the criteria? What did they use to judge that?
I think it's their projection for what they will spend next year or something. AK, is that correct?
Yes, it is. But the primary question is that why should agencies that are generating revenue for the government have the authority of spending the money without appropriation?
Absolutely.
I think that is wrong. The money that FIRS collects does not belong to FIRS. The money belongs to the government. Money. And the Constitution says that all revenues, should go to the federation account. And you cannot spend any cover from federation account unless it is appropriated by the National Assembly. So in a situation where agencies collect revenues and they decide on the percentage of which they want to, that in itself, shows, a total, fiscal irresponsibility,
Absolutely.
And that is despite the fact that you have laws, in place to guard against this, but they're not enforced.
You're right.
I think that is the primary question we should.
You're right, sir, because what this does is to, get people to be interested in the boards, that are connected with the FIRS.
Absolutely, I am interested. Thank you, Mr. Komolafe.
Oji is interested.
I am, of course.
Okay.
We'll see you next week, Mr. Komolafe. Thank you so much,
KK.